Hi, everybody. Eric Thompson here with Subtle Energy Sciences. Thank you for showing up on this Wednesday night. I'm sure, as with myself, that all of you in this, especially here in the U.S., where we're facing, been experiencing, which is probably one of the most intense election uh, periods in U.S. history. I'm sure that we're all experiencing various anxieties. I was just um, trying to let my cat out in because so that it wouldn't disturb us while we meditate because someone um, expressed displeasure with having my cat interrupt us in the middle of a meditation several weeks ago. And my beautiful cat at times just doesn't like to go out unless it's pitch dark. So it's still really light outside, even though it's 9 o'clock p.m., 9:01 here on and actually the Midwest. We're in Indiana here. We're on East Coast time. And so I actually, after having spent days and days cooking in this new energetic signature I've been working on, my nervous system was getting pushed, and I was feeling and experiencing myself getting um, a little pushed. So I think we're all experiencing the anxieties of various types of just what it means to be alive, what it means to live in this world, and especially in this world that's growing ever more complex as we move on. And it seems like to be alive today, it really is an amazing and exciting thing, but at times it can be overwhelming. And so, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to practice a very simple but a very powerful method of looking at our anxieties from a new perspective and just letting them go. This works probably better than anything that I've ever tried or used before. And I would bet that even those of you who might be familiar with things like the Sedona method and so on probably haven't um, experienced this one before. So, what I'd like you to do tonight is just let me be your guide. I'd like you to get comfortable, close your eyes, and just allow yourself to relax. Tonight, we do want to we want to stay aware, so make sure that you are seated upright. If you can, do the best in your ability to make sure that you're not going to be disturbed tonight. I will do my best to make sure that my cats are um, don't get anywhere near the microphone tonight. And just let me do the work for you. Sit back, relax, close your eyes, and just let my voice guide you tonight. And before we go into the technique, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to breathe in nice and deep, relax. And again, just take a nice deep breath in through your nose, down into your belly. And when you exhale, just say, ah. Just let it all go. Just sigh. Deep in breath through the nose, and one more time. Ah. Just let your shoulders drop. Let your bones do all the work. Your muscles, just let them relax. And if you've meditated with me before, you know that what we do is as our eyes are closed, we let our eyes closed gaze naturally center on the area between the eyebrows. And as you breathe in and out, just imagine that you're breathing in and out at this area just between the eyebrows. And as your mind may wander, your mind's going off, just Let it be like that noisy television that you left off in the other room. Just don't pay it any mind. And if you notice that your mind has wandered, just let it come back to this area between the eyebrows and where you're directing your breath in and out of this area. And this is going to help charge your energetic system to get your energy nice and flowing and strong. And some interesting things can happen when your energy is flowing nice and strong. It's when your energetic field is coherent and powerful. That's when you can, it's at those times when you can really cut through. If you apply yourself consciously, it's at these times that you can really cut through that anxiety and that emotional overwhelm, because you can look down into the source from which it's arising, which is really our own attachments and aversions and our projections. And it's at this time when your field is very coherent that you can, if you apply yourself, that you can actually start to use that coherent energy field to cut through those chaotic emotions and to disrupt them and dissolve them. Now, interestingly, the paradox is when your energy field is getting really, really strong, this is also a time when it can sort of trigger pent up emotions that you've been carrying with you. And so it can, often if you've been practicing meditation and going into very coherent states of meditation, it's actually at these times when you might find that a lot of emotions are coming up, right? And so that's the paradox. When the field gets coherent like this, that's when those deeper emotions and anxieties and fears and even things that make you angry can start to come up, because the fire of your own spirit is starting to loosen all of that emotional energy. And it's so at this time when it can at times seem the toughest, but it's at this time when it's when your field is the most coherent and you're actually at your optimal ability to be able to cut through those emotions, sit with them in steadfast, open-hearted, deep compassion, uh, and witness consciousness. So again, take a deep breath in through the nose. Just collect all of your tension and just release it as you exhale. So the paradigm that we're going to operate within tonight, I'm just going to ask you to try it on like a coat. See how it feels. Okay? We're not necessarily saying that this is absolute reality. Just experience it. See how it feels. See how it works for you. But the paradigm we're going to work within tonight is the idea that anxiety comes in at least two forms. Okay? There's a form that's based on uh, really based on the past, based on past traumas. So anxieties that have built up over time and that you've never fully released and are essentially pent up emotional energies of anxiety that are trapped within your own body. And then within the same paradigm is the idea that there's a second kind of anxiety, and this has to do with projecting fear into the future. So this is when you're Possibly worrying about, oh no, is so and so going to become president? Because if so and so becomes president, boy, the whole world's going to go to hell in a handbasket. Can't let that happen, you know. Or is my cat going to interfere with the meditation night? Oh boy, can't let that happen. People will get mad at me. Just these little anxieties and worries that we often mill about in our minds and our hearts off and on all day long without realizing it even, you know. Did I get that bill paid? How much are my taxes going to be this year? Am I going to be able to pay my tax bill? You know, am I going to be able to pay the bills this month? Are my kids doing okay? Uh, you know the drill. You know what those anxieties are. And again, as I speak, just let my voice guide you. And if at any time your mind wanders, just allow your attention to come back to that area between the eyebrows. Just galvanize your focus there without exerting too much effort. Just imagine yourself breathing in and out of this area. And at some point, you may start to feel an energetic innervation at the area between the eyebrows and maybe elsewhere in your body. Just allow yourself to become aware of this energy that's enveloping your body. Allow yourself to become aware of your own life force energy that's beating your heart without your conscious intention. The same life force energy is the energy that brought you into existence. It's the energy of consciousness that allows you to experience yourself and the world around you. It's the light that has guided you your whole life. It's the impulse behind the desire to develop your highest potential. It is the impulse of evolution itself. So, what we're going to be working with tonight is that second type of anxiety that projects fear into the future. So, what I'd like you to do now is to just imagine or think of something that's been worrying you lately. It can be small. It might be best to start with something small. And just think about that and allow your attention to keep going back to that as you breathe in and out through the area between the eyebrows. Just allow yourself to soak in this thing that you've been worrying about. What I'd like you to do is to pay particular attention to how it feels. Okay? Now, we talked uh, just before this, we talked about two types of anxiety. One that has to do with trauma in the past, and that's felt in the body. And the anxiety of the future, projecting fears into the future. Now, this is felt differently. This is often felt as an energy field around you. So if you're thinking about something that you've been worrying about a lot lately, just just think about it. Just think about something you've been worrying about a lot. And just notice how that energy feels. What you may notice is this diffuse energy field around you. It's like a cloud of fear. And that's basically what we're doing every time we entertain worry, every time we entertain fear, every time we entertain anxiety. We're actually creating this energy field around us. And in the world of subtle energy, we know that subtle energy attracts like energy. It's not like magnetic energy. It doesn't attract its opposite. It attracts the same kind of energy as itself. So if we're projecting fear into the world, we will tend to attract experiences that uh, strengthen that fear. So if you will, just allow yourself to become aware of that diffuse cloud of fear and anxiety around you. And just feel it. And what we're going to do with this is I'm just going to ask you to start to project your awareness horizontally in front of you, as though with your awareness you were trying to reach the outer edge of that cloud of fear, that cloud of anxiety and worry. Just allow yourself to keep moving to the outer edge. And if at any point you feel a voice within yourself saying, oh, I can't do it, I can't get outside the fear, you don't have to worry about that, because the truth is your higher awareness, your higher consciousness is already outside that fear. All you have to do is just intend to move outward to the outer edge of that fear, and you're already there instantaneously, because your higher consciousness is already free from anxiety. But what we tend to do is we tend to inhabit the part of our awareness that isn't already free. That's the part that we tend to consciously identify with. So just imagine yourself moving horizontally in front of you towards the outer edge of this cloud of fear. And then once you get there, just keep going. You can imagine yourself just floating outward and outward and outward. And even if you like, because your imagination is limitless, you can imagine yourself moving at the speed of light, far beyond this cloud of fear and anxiety and projection. And just keep moving further and further and further into the silence and the spaciousness before you. Just keep moving forward, deeper and deeper into that silence, beyond that cloud of fear, straight ahead. Just keep moving deeper and deeper and deeper into this deep space of silence. Just see if you can keep going deeper and deeper still, straight ahead, beyond this cloud of fear, deeper and deeper into this deep space of silence. And as you do this, you'll probably notice that that fear is starting to diminish, it's starting to dissolve, and just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper out into the outer or inner space of deep, deep silence, straight ahead, straight through and beyond this diffused cloud of fear and anxiety and projection. Just going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and further out into this profound silence beyond the cloud of projection and fear. Just see if you can go deeper and deeper, further and further out. And at some point, you should start to notice that you're no longer feeling that anxiety. You're no longer feeling it. Because essentially what you're doing is you're moving beyond that identification, and you're experiencing yourself from higher and deeper within your own higher awareness. But we haven't fully released that anxiety yet. What we want to do is we want to release that projection altogether so that it doesn't come back. So what I'd like you to do is to imagine that now that you're in deep outer space, deep, deep, deep into the silence, imagine that you're looking back at yourself. You're looking back at that anxiety and that fear, and you can barely see it. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just ask yourself the following questions. And as you ask them, you don't have to try to answer them. Just allow the natural answer to arise of its own. Okay? So, does this anxiety and this fear that you've been holding on to and projecting, does it help you to serve your highest purpose? Does it help you to fulfill your highest potential? Does it help you in any way to prevent the very thing you've been afraid of? Or does it attract it? Do you wish to continue carrying this projection, this fear? Is it something that you believe serves the highest good of all? Does it make you feel good to carry this projection, this fear? And finally, are you ready once and for all to just stop projecting this fear and to just let it go? So now, just check back in with yourself. Think of this anxiety and this fear again. We're going to test it. We're going to see how well we did this. And just see, how do you feel? Think of that fear. Think of that anxiety again. Do you still notice that diffuse cloud of fear around you? Now, if you do, then uh, we're about to do this exercise again for another anxiety, another fear. But if you still haven't completely let it go yet, then as we do this the second time, you can go ahead and perform it again on the same anxiety and the same fear. And usually, once you get really good at this, you can let it go the first time. Okay. Now, it's possible that you might also be feeling a kind of more intensified anxiety when you think of this inside your body. And now, if that's the case, then what this is an indicator of is that this is not a projection so much as this is a residual energy from past trauma. And the way we would release that is we would actually start to dive into that feeling within the body. And we would dive into the very center of the center of the center of the center of the epicenter of the intensity of the feeling within the body until the feeling completely and utterly diffused and released and dissolved. But tonight, because we're focusing more on this second aspect of anxiety, the one in which we project anxiety into the future, we're going to leave that for another time. So, if you will, just go ahead and think of another thing that you've been worrying about. It can be small, it can be large. Okay. If it's a really big anxiety and a very big fear, it could even be a phobia. Then you might not release it all tonight because you're still learning how to do that, but this will get you really far. Okay. And you can always come back and watch this replay and do this over and over again until you get it. But once you get it, this is very simple and very quick. It takes little to no time at all to release anxieties and fears this way. So if you will, go ahead and think of another anxiety or fear. And as you do, just become aware of that diffused cloud of fear and anxiety that's accompanying that anxiety. Just pay attention to that. And just realize that every time you and I entertain anxiety, entertain worries, we're actually producing this field around us. That's just, I'm not going to make any more statement about it other than if you become really, really, really aware of that, it can help you to start to dissolve these anxieties more quickly because as we see at the end of the exercise, that holding on to and projecting these fears is actually working against us. It's not working for us. It actually clouds our thinking. It clouds our ability to make sound judgments. So go ahead and just think of that anxiety and think of that fear. It could be a phobia. It can even be a fear of spiders or a fear of heights. It could be a fear of visiting your in-laws. Yeah, right? 'Cause I found that it really doesn't matter how deeply um, awake and how much work you've done. Even the most enlightened people I've met, I detected intuited anxieties and fears that they have to deal with. So just become aware of that diffuse field around your body, and now allow your awareness to start moving through that cloud of fear and anxiety and projection straight in front of you, so that you just start projecting your awareness all the way through to the outer edge of that fear, the outer edge of that anxiety. And once you get there, just keep moving beyond it into the deep silence before you. Just allow your awareness to keep moving forward, ever progressing further and further into the silence before you, and more and more into the silence before you. You can even imagine yourself moving at light speed deep into inner space beyond your own fear and anxiety and projection into your higher awareness and consciousness, into the deep and profound silence before you, and just keep moving into that silence. Let the silence call you forward. Let it attract you deeper and deeper and deeper into itself, deeper and deeper into your own self. And deeper and deeper and deeper. And at some point, you're going to start to feel that anxiety and that diffuse cloud of fear and anxiety and projection. It's going to start diminishing. It's going to start dissolving because you are inhabiting your own higher awareness, your own higher consciousness. Just allow yourself to keep going further and further and further out into this profound silence before you. Allow it to attract you. See, this higher awareness, this deep silence is your larger self. The, the smaller aspect of yourself, the chattering mind, makes up only less than 1% of your actual being. See if you can allow yourself to move deeper and deeper and further out into this profound silence. And just keep allowing it to attract you further and further and further, deeper and deeper into your higher consciousness, into this profound silence. Just allow yourself to deeply and profoundly experience the exquisite nature of this silence. Just allow yourself to revel in this exquisite silence, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, far beyond the outer edge of the fear and projection. And now once you're out there, just allow yourself to look back at that fear, back at that projection, and ask yourself, is holding on to this fear and projection, is it serving my highest purpose? Is it allowing me to fulfill my highest nature? Is it serving the highest good of all? Is it helping me to fulfill my highest and deepest purpose? Do I wish to continue holding on to this projection and fear? Am I ready once and for all to relinquish this anxiety, to relinquish this fear? Am I ready to just let it go once and for all? And so now we're just going to test it. We're going to see if we still have residual aspects of that energy left. So just go back and think of that fear, that anxiety, that worry, that phobia once more. And feel how you're experiencing it right now. Do you feel any more diffuse cloud around you? It should be significantly diminished, if not gone altogether. And you'll find that typically it will not reappear. And if it does, it just means you didn't fully release it, dissolve it. Yeah? And you might even become aware that you still have anxiety, but this is of the type that has to do with trauma because it's felt more as an intensified kind of energy within the body, usually somewhere in the trunk of the body, along the spine. And we will, if you want to, we can work on releasing that at a later time. And if this hasn't been fully released yet, just know that you can come back to this replay anytime and continue to practice this. And I encourage you to do so because as you do, you're going to find that your decision making becomes clearer, becomes more confident. This is a great little technique to use, for example, for the fear of public speaking. Anytime you're going to do a live performance, this works wonders to allow you to be in the moment and no longer within that diffuse cloud of fear and projection. So what I'd like you to do now is still with your eyes closed, just breathe in again at that area between the eyebrows and feel that sense of relief. And I'd like you to just start to soak that up. Allow yourself to anchor this higher and deeper awareness in your body. And just observe what you're feeling. And then slowly allow yourself to observe yourself observing the feeling. What part of you is aware of this feeling? Observe the part of you that is observing the feeling. Observe the observer observing. And just intend to anchor this higher awareness into your very bones, into your body. How deeply do you want to develop your highest self? How deeply? How deeply do you want to fulfill your highest potential in every area of your life? Become aware of that impulse to evolve. Allow it to be anchored into your very bones, into your heart. Trust that this impulse to evolve your highest self is more powerful than your resistance to evolution. Trust that this part of you that knows there's more of you to bring to the world, trust that it is more powerful than your ability to resist it. And just allow it to be. And know that as you take this time every day to meditate, to consciously direct your intention, to become aware of your inner world, to begin to release your attachments and your aversions, to let go of your projections, to become more aware of your awareness, of yourself as awareness, that you are literally feeding your spirit. You're giving yourself license and permission to awaken more and more fully. Now, as I say this, I have a confession to make. Okay? I have not reached that state of perfection, but I'm doing my best every day to learn more and more and more and to develop myself more and more and more and more. And I am seeing this flowering happen in my life. And I just want to share it. And it's a free offering. This is waiting for everybody. And really what we're doing is we're just experiencing the truth of who we really are. So finally, let's just give salutations and blessings to your teachers, to your mother and father, whether they're alive or not, to your brothers and sisters, your family, your loved ones, your husband, your wife, your pets, your friends, your associates, the people you work with, everyone you've known in your past, every friend, every acquaintance, every stranger, every girlfriend, every boyfriend. Just send them love and blessings and peace and salutations and honor and respect. If there's anything you've been holding anything against, send them love and respect. Let's send love and respect to President Obama and his family. Whether you believe President Obama is a good president or you don't, doesn't matter. Just send them love. Send them respect. Wish them well. Wish them protection. And for all the presidential candidates, it doesn't matter who they are, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. And if you don't live here in the United States, you maybe live in Europe, send love to this schism that's happening with the European Union and Brexit and all that. Send peace to all of Europe, to both parties on the left and the right, and everything in between. Send love and blessings and respect and peace to the whole continent of Africa and the whole Middle East, and warriors and soldiers of every nation. The truth is, if you and I grew up in Muslim countries, if we grew up like many of the people in ISIS, we probably would feel and think and behave like they do. Let's just send love and a big free offering of just love and goodwill and peace to the whole world. May the whole world live in happiness and peace. May the whole world live in happiness and peace. Amen. Okay, you can come back to the room. Open your eyes. I'm really glad that you're all here. You may have heard my cat meowing in the background, and that's because it's nice and dark outside now, and he's ready to go outside. He's nocturnal. He loves to go outside when it's dark. Anyway, I'm really grateful that you all are here. I'm grateful that we can do this together, and it is my sincere prayer that each of us, in our own way, I would not be the one to tell you how you should meditate or how you should pray, but that each one of us will take this with us and continue to develop ourselves each and every day and become more and more aware of our higher awareness and give ourselves to developing our highest selves for the greater good. So are you there, Joshua? I'm going to do some Q&A now. We're going to take your questions. I think we have a few questions.
Yeah, I'm here, Eric. Did you see the ones that came in before we broadcasted earlier today?
Yeah, I have some questions from Andre, and I have one from Dave B, and I have one from Scott Marshall.
Okay, and then we got another one from Scott about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, we did? Okay, why don't we start with that one?
Okay, it's a good one. He says, what do I do about releasing other people's projected anxiety that I can feel? Is it the same sort of idea as what you were expressing, the same sort of process?
That's a great question. Yes. If you can, basically, you would just think of the anxiety that you're feeling. You don't necessarily have to be aware of where it's coming from. You just get in touch with where it's feeling, and if you experience it as this diffuse cloud, because your awareness knows, in other words, if other people are projecting anxiety and you're starting to buy into it, either because of their attitudes or because they're upset, and it's starting to get you a little unbalanced, you can do the same thing, and it will work for that. Yes.
Yeah, great question.
Okay. Well, I will start with the questions that I have here already, and if any of you have any questions, feel free to. I think you can put your questions in this chat box, or if you're listening on Facebook, you could put your questions on in the comments below, and Joshua will let me know what your questions are, and I'll answer those questions. But I'm going to start with a question here from Andre. He asks, in your meditations, you stress the concept of allowing yourself to be meditated. Can you discuss this a bit? So, we could probably talk a lot about this for a long time. I'm just kind of going to share a little bit until I feel like it's time to move on. This comes from the basic idea that if you think about it, okay, if you look at all the major wisdom traditions, there's this idea of action without action, right? In the Taoism, it's called Wei Wu Wei. It means it's this profound sense of allowing where there's no doer trying to do anything, but everything is just happening naturally because everything is in balance with the Tao, and it's really this higher movement of the Tao moving through you. So instead of trying to be, you are just being. And we see versions of this in really all of the major wisdom traditions, whether it's Buddhism, various sects of Hinduism, even in Christianity, we see it. For example, in the book of Hebrews, it says to strive to enter into the rest. And this is alluding to the idea where in Christian mysticism, Jesus has been resurrected and he is now sitting on the throne at the right hand of the Father. He's no longer striving, but he is fully entered into that rest. He's fully crowned. He is fully at rest, sitting on the throne, and he's completely in charge. And the idea is that all of our practice is allow us to get to this place where we're no longer struggling. But we're just being, we're just allowing, and we're being lived. Rather than trying to live, we're being lived. We're being breathed. And one of the ways it is also expressed in Taoism, and particularly in the Tao Te Ching, is it says to know the yang, but to remain rooted in the yin. So we have the yang, which is really, it's the mind. It's the effort of doing. It's action. It's male. It's doing in the world. It's striving to make something to happen. Efforting. The yin is feminine, and it's this really symbolic of our own spirit. Our spirit is already enlightened. It doesn't have to try to be enlightened. It doesn't have to try to meditate. It is meditation itself. So when we're efforting and struggling with the mind, we're really in this yin mindset. And so when I say just allow yourself to be meditated, I am really alluding to this idea of getting so deeply in touch with our spirit that the energy of our spirit starts flowing so strongly that it meditates us. It creates such a samadhi, such a meditative absorption, that it's doing all the work for us. We no longer have to struggle with the mind because we're just simply relaxing and letting go, and we're using our intention to keep our attention focused on the area between the eyebrows and allowing that energy to flow so that the energy does the work. We're allowing ourselves to be meditated. And in the Tao Te Ching, when it says know the yang but remain rooted in the yin, what it's alluding to is that part of us that thinks, plans, tries to make happen, when we're in Wei Wu Wei, when we're really allowing ourselves to be lived, we know that part of ourselves, but that's not the part of ourselves that we're rooted in. We're rooted in our part that is the spirit, that's already enlightened, that's already awake. And we're just allowing ourselves to be lived and to be breathed. And I find that when I remind myself of this, and then when I remind others of this when I'm leading meditations, that it just helps as a guiding principle. It helps you to just get to let go of struggling, to let go of trying, to let go of efforting, to let go of the idea that there's a doer who's meditating, right? Because the goal here, or part of the goal, is to really get to the point to where you realize there is no one meditating. There just is meditation, because that's what's really, really real. So I hope that helps. Um, I hope that helps explain a little bit more there. And it's a nice. You can use this in your own meditations. Just allow yourself to be meditated. It helps you to just get back into that yin mindset. Now, there are various different traditions within the major wisdom traditions that agree with this basic principle of taking the yin road to enlightenment, allowing, really just cultivating this sense of allowing and letting go. When I was a part of an organization. It was actually it was a school that is affiliated with Buddhism, and when I went there, um, and I'm not in any way trying to harp on this particular traditional organization. I'm just sharing this because this is a part of my experience, and it may help you. Uh, but when I went there, I had the idea that this was going to be a very open place. They're going to be very open-minded to other traditions. And what I quickly found out within my first few months there was that was not the case at all. They had their own teaching, their own tradition, which I fully respect, but it's one that basically said that uh, if you're one of the ways you know that your meditation is working is you start to experience great boredom, and then eventually you start experiencing a lot of troubled emotions, and you just start becoming more and more aware of your own misery. And one of the things that they kind of teach there, I'm only saying this because it's what they kept telling me when I began to tell them of my blissful experiences in meditation. They kept telling me, well, you must be doing something wrong. You're probably trying to avoid your misery. Because when I got to know a lot, even the teachers who were teaching this, a lot of them were they weren't incredibly happy people. They really weren't. And I would tell them, and I only would tell them this because I was being graded. Um, so I didn't really want to tell them everything I was experiencing because I didn't think they would accept it. But I was going into blissful states of samadhi. The more I would let go of my misery, the more I would let go of my attachments and aversions, the more blissful it got, and the more the energy began to meditate me. And I no longer had to struggle with my mind as much as I normally used to with other forms of meditation. And when part of the grading system is they would grade you on how well you were meditating and what your experiences were. So I was being honest about what as I was experiencing, but I found that they would take a lot of them would take offense to this. They would get angry that I was experiencing this kind of samadhi, and they would say, "Oh, you must be doing something wrong. Um, you must be trying to escape your misery." And so I would go back to my Shaktipat teacher, and I'd tell him, "Hey, this is what they're telling me." And he goes, "Eric, with all due respect, I've had the same experience when I meditated with a certain sect of Buddhists, and they were telling me the same thing, except for one of the more realized, uh, uh, Rinpoches in this particular system." He told me, he goes, "Don't listen to these guys. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're going in the right way." Um, and finally, he told me, "Eric," he said, "I recommend that you leave because um, they're just uh, they're basically um, wrestling with your development and trying to get you to keep from going in what's been working for you." And all nothing but respect and love to them, but but I think you've evolved past their version of Buddhism. And so I say that because, again, it comes back to this idea that when you really start to let go of struggling with your misery, of struggling with your mind, of struggling with your emotions, and even struggling with judging yourself, because, like, I want to go back, guys. Look, I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I occasionally still lose my temper. Okay, I'm not perfect. But the difference is I'm learning to just let go of my judgments, to love myself unconditionally, and get back to center and just allow myself to be lived, allow myself to be meditated. And the more I practice meditation, the easier it gets to just allow myself to be meditated, at least more consistently. So I think I'll stop there with that one. And Andre asks one more question. He says, light is often also mentioned in your meditation as well. For example, imagine a torrent of light running up your spine, etc. I understand that we are 70% water, and water is a great carrier of information. Are we also made of light? Is there a special relationship between subtle energy and light? Well, absolutely. And again, one of the things that we see in all these different wisdom traditions are various teachings of light, right? For example, in the Christian tradition, God is light, and in him there is no darkness. Or he's an all-consuming fire, right? And then in science, we discovered in the 90s that our DNA emits light. Then there was a writer, an anthropologist, who came out in the late 90s by the name of Jeremy Narby, who wrote a book called The uh, uh, Cosmic Serpent. And he based his theory on experience, on various scientific studies, and on the ayahuasca tradition, where they take ayahuasca as a medicine during ceremony. And they have visions, and often these visions include serpents, right? These visions usually often take place in darkness with very little light. And to make a long story short, he ties in this scientific discovery that DNA gives off a low level of basically coherent light, like a low level laser. And he believes that what's happening, in part with ayahuasca ceremonies, is that we're becoming aware of this coherent light that's being emitted by DNA. And that's one of the reasons why during so many of the ayahuasca visions, what is seen are these intertwining snakes who are in the shape of a double helix, like DNA, right? And then he ties that into the serpent traditions that you see worldwide, and in most of the wisdom traditions in one form or another, whether it's the Kundalini serpent energy, the rainbow serpent in the Australian indigenous tradition, the different serpent teachings that you see in Native American oral traditions, the vision serpent that appears in Mayan and other traditions. And so we see this idea of this evolutionary energy being as a kind of serpent. Now, it's interesting. I was reading a scripture today, actually, in the New Testament, where Jesus tells his disciples, there are, when I send you out, I'm going to be sending you out among wolves dressed in sheep's clothing. Therefore, be ye wise as serpents and innocent as doves. And again, this goes back to this serpent wing motif that we see in so many wisdom traditions, where you have this evolutionary energy, basically the Kundalini, rising up the spine, up the Sushumna, the central channel. And if you look at the symbol of the third eye chakra in Hinduism, in yogic philosophy, it's a it basically has two wings. It has a wing on either side, or it looks like a lotus petal on either side, but they can also look like wings. Um, and so basically what we're seeing is that as this light, this evolutionary light energy, moves up our spine and connects with a higher consciousness, that is mediated by these higher chakras in the third eye and the crown chakra, and ultimately the heart chakra as well, that it unites heaven and earth, um, and allows us to awaken and develop and realize and manifest more of our heavenly higher potential here in the earth. And in fact, as Jesus put it, pray like this: Our Father who be in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So basically, he was saying we're supposed to be praying that heaven come to earth. Heaven, again, the nature of God, the nature of spirit, is often referred to in terms of light. We see descriptions, of course, also depictions of saints with a halo above their head. Again, this is the idea that as the Kundalini energy is, this light is moving up and removing the dross, removing the resistances to further evolution and awakening, and moving up our central channel, up and through the out through the Sahasrara, or the crown chakra, that it creates this kind of crown of light around the head. Depictions of Jesus show it. Depictions of saints show this. And in fact, there actually have been real photographs of certain saints through the years. There was a Christian one by the name of William Branham back in the early 20th century, who had a famous picture taken of him where you see this halo of light above his head. Obviously, many people tried to say it was faked, but there was a lot of research done that I read on it, done by professional photographers and developers, and their claim was that it had not been faked. And there were a lot of miracles that accompanied his ministry, although he wasn't a perfect individual. He had he did have a shadow, and he did have certain interesting and somewhat crazy things that also happened in his life. But we do, or you may have noticed, you may have a picture of a yogi or a guru, that when you look at it, or when you look at them, you may see a certain radiance around them. That's this light, right? And that light is a subtle energy. Again, the idea is that the true nature of the universe is light. In fact, consciousness itself is light. The fact that we can even be aware of anything at all means that we have the light of awareness. It allows us to see, right? Which is interesting when you look, for example, the first chapter in the book of Genesis, the Hebrew Bible, that is, depending on what your view is either a literal or allegorical or both view of creation. Before the sun is even created and placed in the sky, God says, "Let there be light." And in mystical Christianity, in that tradition, it's often taught that is the light of awareness itself. The fact that we can even become aware of ourselves as ourselves in this world is itself light, right? So this light does have a subtle energetic nature. And in fact, you could say, for example, the 7 chakras in the yogic system, the root chakra, red, right? Its vibrational spectrum is depicted as red. The womb chakra, orange. The solar plexus, yellow. The heart, green. The throat, blue. The third eye, indigo. The crown, violet. We have what do we have there? We have the rainbow. We have the colors of the visible spectrum of light, of light, right? So the chakras are themselves gradations of light, but not the physical light that we see when we turn on the lamp in our living room. It's a different kind of light. It travels faster than physical light. It travels faster than the speed of light. So I could probably go on and on about this, but absolutely, subtle energy, you could say, is the body of light. It's the body on which light travels, and you could say that all subtle energies are different gradations of the original light of spirit. So I hope that helps answer your question a little bit there. Did we get any more questions, Joshua?
Hey, Eric. Yeah, we do have one more question.
Sure.
It's from, I hope I pronounced this right, Rosario, Rosario. I believe that's right. Does do EMF protection stickers interfere when listening to subtle energy products?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm not sure what else to say on that, but no, you don't have to worry about that.
Are there things to be aware of that maybe would interfere with getting the value out of the product?
Not really. As long as you play, as long as you're not playing like, if you've got like, let's see, the only thing you wouldn't want to do is to mix two of the SES products that are meant for diametrically opposed purposes. So, for example, using the insomnia mandala while you're listening to Catalyst. That'd be counterproductive. They're two different energetic goals. So you just want to make sure that if you mix any of the SES products, that energetically they're congruent with one another, and they complement one another, just kind of like you would spices. Okay, you wouldn't open up your cabinet and put a little of every spice in your cabinet on every dish you eat. It wouldn't be complementary. It'd be overpowering. You want to use them only when they complement one another. And even then, you're not going to use, unless you're eating a nice curry dish, you're probably not going to use 50 spices in a dish. You're probably only going to use 1, 2, 3, at the most half a dozen. And again, you just want to make sure they complement one another in terms of what their intended goals and purposes are. But other than that, no, you don't. This whole idea of, this could interfere with that and this could interfere with that. I haven't found any of that to be the case with this technology. So there's really nothing to worry about too much about that.
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up. Good question. Looks like that's it so far.
Okay. Well, I have a couple more questions from Dave B. And Scott. Dave B. says, I have a question for Eric that may be good for tonight. Okay. I noticed that other than palpable strength of the MP3s, the main difference between iAwake Energy products and SES tracks is that the iAwake products tend to use many complementary signatures for one track, when the SS tracks tend to have one main signature. Could you discuss the pros and cons of having many different but complementary signatures in one energy track versus a more singular signature? Okay, well, You know, first, just keep in mind that we've only done so far, right now that are available, we've only got 2 audio programs available in SES, where with iAwake, I did a lot more before I left. But if, you know, I wouldn't say that this is totally correct, actually. If you look at Catalyst, although it's, if you look in the manual, although it's broken up into 3 layers of signatures, each of those layers has multiple signatures within it. I think Catalyst has about somewhere upwards to between 12 and 20 signatures, all combined into that program, actually. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the only challenge is you just want to make sure that they all complement one another to create one big, large goal, rather than, again, you wouldn't want to combine a sleep signature with an exercise signature. It just wouldn't make any sense. So if you look at the signatures in Catalyst, we've got signatures in there for determination, willpower, enthusiasm, time efficiency, hard work, um, uh, motivation, creativity. So all those, when you look at them, they're really all complementary of one another, and they work together to help you to fulfill your goals, right? So you just want to make sure that they're complementary. And again, when you see us do more and more audio programs, one of the reasons we don't have as many out as I did with iAwake is because, if you'll notice, those signatures in the audio programs keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So they just take longer and longer to produce. But as we release more audio products, you're going to see that that we're going to have a lot of them out there that have many different signatures combined. There's really no pros and cons, other than you're just paying attention that they complement one another. That's really about it. And I think you'll notice again that with the SES products, they're going to tend to be a lot stronger than the ones I did with iAwake, because the technology just wasn't as evolved back then. And then one more question from Scott Marshall. He asks, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the central channel tonight in terms of how subtle energy interacts with the central channel, or your unique understanding of this particular aspect of the energy anatomy. Sometimes I think we are distracted with the chakras and perhaps miss out on the power of the central channel. Thanks, Eric. Well, it's interesting because it's actually the central channel that the chakras really are aligned with, and it's what supports them. So, you know, speaking from yogic philosophy and science, the central channel is called the Sushumna. It's one of 3 main nadis, NADIS, or energy channels in the body. And it reaches from basically the genitals up the spine and up into the brain, up into the brain stem and to the center of the brain. And then also out the center, on the top, the center of the head. And then there are 2 smaller nadis to either side of that central channel. In the yogic philosophy, they're called the Ida and the Pingala. The Ida is the left channel, the Pingala is the right. The Ida is feminine, the Pingala is masculine. And essentially, when these 2 energies of the Ida and Pingala, the left and the right, the masculine and the feminine, when they are balanced, then this activates the spiritual evolutionary energy in the root Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine to awaken and move up the central channel. And there are various different types of, for example, pranayama, where you breathe in and out through the left nostril and the right nostril to balance the brain, to balance the channels, so that you can begin to awaken the kundalini to rise up the center channel. I actually don't practice pranayama anymore because it's too much work for too little result. And I just find it easier to do these basic, as basic as some of these meditations I've been sharing with you. And I haven't shared with you the fullness of them. There are a lot of other things that I haven't gone into, just for the sake of brevity and for the sake of to learn these other things. You really need to be in a full class where you're practicing this meditation every day over a period of time, so that you can master certain principles and then move on to others. But in truth, even with the simplicity of these meditations, they can be deceptively simple because they're really quite powerful. And if you learn to do them and just allow yourself to be meditated and connect with this energy, the energy in the Sushumna will start to rise of its own. And in fact, anything you do that is centering and balancing will activate this central channel, because the energy that's activated when you're centered and balanced is non-local. So it will automatically activate the Sushumna. Anytime you do anything to balance. So for example, when if you've ever done a meditation with me, when when I've talked about becoming aware of whatever you're feeling in your body, and allow your attention to um, and your focus to gently center in on the epicenter of the center of the center of the center of the center of the intensity of the feeling. Well, anytime you allow yourself to become aware of the center of the center of the center, it doesn't matter if it's the center of a feeling that's in your body, of a traumatic energy that you experienced and you never fully released, whatever it is, anytime you meditate on the center of the center of the center of the center. So, for example, when we're meditating on the center of the center of the center of the center in the area of the third eye, right? We're breathing in and out there. We're actually activating the Sushumna, because it itself is the energy of the center, right? So anything you do that cultivates the awareness of the center of the center of the center of the center will activate this energy of the central channel. Um, Anything that you do, even the intention to to master balance itself, which balance is about remaining in the center. Because when you're fully in the center, everything's revolving around you. You're not having to work at it, but you're actually the center of gravity. You're what's holding everything together. Um, so essentially, again, this allowing your awareness to rest at this area between the eyebrows, and just allowing yourself to dive into the center of the center of the center of the center of this area between the eyebrows, and allow yourself to breathe in the energy that you're feeling at the center of 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 this area between the eyebrows, awakens the energy of the center within you at the Muladhara, so that that energy can begin to arise up through the central channel. And what the central channel is basically is it is the mediator of our own evolution. So let me kind of break it down a little bit like this. Now, if you've studied Ken Wilber and spiral dynamics, you're probably aware of spiral dynamics, where they show this evolutionary spiral, right? And the way it's depicted is such that the higher you go in the spiral, the wider the spiral gets. And the way they explain that is they depict it that way because the widening of the spiral represents the really the actual energetic power that you're tapping into at these higher levels of evolution. But what I have found is there's something deceptive about depicting the spiral as widening the higher you go. Because if you think about it, imagine, because what is a spiral anyway? It's simply a circular forward movement around a center. Think about it. It's a forward, upward evolutionary movement around a center. The center is where the most evolutionary action is. It's where the balance is, right? It's where the transformation is. So the higher you're getting, you're not getting further away from the center, you're getting closer to the center. Now, there was an Austrian researcher by the name of, let me see if I can think of his name, Schauberger, who began to, he was a naturalist, spent many years in the forest, observing nature and observing how the most vital and life-giving water, that is water with the most vital life force in it, how it actually accrues that life force. And he found that it twirls and spirals. And that's why creeks and rivers, when they meander down a mountainside, actually that meandering is not by accident. Because as the water moves back and forth in these eddy patterns, it actually creates these spiraling movements in the most vital water. And it's these spiraling movements that attract subtle energy and life force energy and vitality into it, because as we've talked about, water is a natural amplifier and broadcaster of life force energy. That's why there's so much of it in the earth and so much of it in our bodies, because it's needed to mediate and amplify the energy of consciousness and life force. Okay, and in fact, Nisargadatta Maharaj said in one of his famous quotes that fluids collect and energy and consciousness emerges. There's something, if you look at the creation myths around the world, they often involve water, amniotic fluid, blood. In the Christian tradition, right? It says, for the life is in the blood. Blood is mostly water. It mediates life force energy. It mediates energy. It mediates consciousness, right? The cerebrospinal fluid in the spine mediates the kundalini, the light, the evolutionary force moving up through the spine into and beyond the brain. So Schauberger, what he found, and others in his wake who furthered his studies, found that these spirals that create, or these vortices in water, and by the way, subtle energy moves in vortices, right? It moves in spirals. And that's why our solar system is spiraling. If you've ever seen this animation that's brought forth by the Nassim Haramein and the Resonance Project, they show that the Earth and the planets aren't just revolving around the sun, they're all spiraling around one another and around the galaxy, right? And around the sun, and then the sun is spiraling around the galaxy. And guess what? The galaxy is a spiral. This vortical spiraling energy is the it is the engine behind spin. It's why things spin. It's why planets spin. It's why galaxies and solar systems spin. It's why atoms spin. So Schauberger found that water spirals when it's really got this vital life force in it. It's spiraling, and the spiral, okay, gets so efficient that it gets closer and closer to the center around which it is spiraling, and that the denominator that detects the efficiency of that spiraling motion is the golden mean. And the closer that spiraling motion gets to the golden mean around the spin, or around the center, the spin around the center, the most efficient that spin becomes, so that it is actually able to spin around the center so closely and so quickly that it actually loses all resistance and actually gains speed, so that it can actually become faster than the speed of light. So when I began becoming aware of this, I thought, oh my God, as powerful and as helpful as spiral dynamics has been, it's got this part. It doesn't have that part right. The more highly evolved you're getting, the more you're awakening, the closer to the center that you're staying, and you're getting closer and closer and closer to it without fully touching it. And you're spinning around it and spinning around it, and the more efficient and the more momentum you get, the more life force you attract unto yourself, the more consciousness you build up within yourself, the more you evolve. And evolution is ultimately dictated by the center and how close to the center that you are. So anything that you're doing that is cultivating the awareness and the energy of the center is automatically cultivating the energy of the central channel. And with that, I think I will stop with there on that one. Do we have any other questions, Joshua?
I'm not seeing any other questions at this time, Eric.
Okay, you guys, we're about 90 minutes in. I'm really glad that you came tonight. I hope this meditation was helpful for you. Go ahead, Joshua.
We do have one more.
Okay.
Someone has asked, JP Lambert is asking, have you heard of, let me try to, they're Indian words, so let me try to pronounce these. That Dayalinga that Sadhguru built in southern India. And I have, I brought up, here's an image. I'm going to share my screen here for you. So it's a place in India.
I have not seen that. No.
Okay, that was the question.
I'm not really. I'm a little familiar with that particular guru, but there are a lot of gurus in India, and I haven't really followed him, so I wouldn't know a lot about him.
Yeah, it looks like it's a pretty cool meditation space. It says this powerful meditative space does not ascribe to any particular faith or belief system, nor does it require any ritual or prayer or worship. And it's at the foothills of one of the mountains in India.
Great. Okay, guys. Well, I don't know if we have any more questions, but I'm happy to answer them. If you have one more, a couple more you want to throw out there. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the meditation tonight. Please know this is a very powerful technique. Don't want you to underestimate that. And feel free to come back and use this replay as often as you like. Keep meditating. Let's stay in touch. I'll see you in 2 weeks. God bless. Bye-bye.